When everyone around you is excited about your birthday and you feel absolutely nothing, that silence isn't apathy, it's architecture. There's a person in your life, maybe it's you, who when their birthday arrives, does something strange. They don't plan anything. They don't announce it. If someone remembers, they smile politely but deflect. If no one remembers, they feel a brief sting they'll never admit to, then move on as if the day held no weight. The world treats birthdays as mandatory joy, but some people have quietly opted out of the entire system. And the reason is far more complex than simply not caring. You know the feeling. Someone asks what you're doing for your birthday, and your chest tightens. Not with excitement, but with a pressure you can't name. The expectation to perform happiness. The unspoken demand to be the center of attention for a day when you've spent your whole life learning how to take up less space. So you say nothing. You let the day pass. And people read that as indifference. But you and I both know, indifference doesn't come with that specific ache at 11:59 p.m. when the day is almost over and no one called. Here's what most people miss. The birthday skipper isn't someone who hates celebration. They're often the first person to remember your birthday. They'll plan the surprise, buy the thoughtful gift, write the message that makes you cry. But when it's their turn to receive, something locks. It's not humility. It's not low-maintenance personality. It's a deeply practiced belief that wanting to be celebrated is a form of vulnerability they cannot afford. They learned somewhere, sometime, that expecting something from people is the fastest way to get hurt. Psychologist John Bowlby's attachment theory gives us a framework. People who skip their birthdays often exhibit what Mary Ainsworth later classified as avoidant attachment, a pattern formed in early childhood when a child's emotional needs were consistently met with indifference or discomfort from caregivers. The child learns a devastating lesson. My needs make people withdraw. So they stop expressing needs altogether. A 2013 study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships by Gurmey, Overall, and Simpson found that avoidantly attached individuals actively suppress bids for closeness, not because they don't want connection, but because the anticipation of disappointment is neurologically more painful than the absence of celebration itself. There's another layer. Psychologist Thomas Gilovich at Cornell studied the spotlight effect. Our tendency to overestimate how much others notice and evaluate us. But for birthday skippers, this isn't just cognitive bias. It's threat. Research by Leary and colleagues on sociometer theory shows that self-esteem functions as an internal monitor of social acceptance. For someone whose sociometer was miscalibrated early through neglect, inconsistency, or conditional love, being the center of attention doesn't feel like warmth. It feels like exposure. A birthday forces a question they'd rather not answer. Am I worth this attention? And the silence they choose is safer than risking the answer. Here's the layer no one talks about. Skipping your birthday is also a form of preemptive emotional accounting. If you don't ask for anything, no one can give you less than you hoped for. If you don't set expectations, no one can fall short. This is what psychologist Sandra Murray calls the risk regulation model. The idea that people calibrate their emotional investment based on perceived probability of rejection. Birthday skippers aren't being noble or easygoing. They're running a constant internal algorithm, the cost of hoping minus the probability of disappointment. And every year the math tells them the same thing. Don't invest, don't expect, don't be seen wanting, but go deeper still. For many birthday skippers, there is a specific memory, or more accurately, a specific absence. A birthday where the parent forgot. A birthday where the celebration felt performative, not personal. A birthday where they were told they were too old for this, or too much for wanting a party, or where the day became about someone else's mood. Psychotherapist Alice Miller wrote in The Drama of the Gifted Child that children who learn to suppress their authentic needs develop a false self, a version of themselves designed entirely to be low maintenance, easy, undemanding. The adult who says, I just don't care about birthdays, is often the child who cared so much it became dangerous to keep caring. So if this is you, If you are the person who has turned not celebrating into an identity, understand what you've actually built. You built a system to protect yourself from a specific kind of pain, the pain of wanting to matter and not being sure you do. That system worked. It kept you safe. But safety and aliveness are not the same thing. You are allowed to want a day. You are allowed to want someone to remember without being reminded. You are allowed to feel that ache at 11:59 and call it what it is. Not weakness, but proof that you are still in there, still wanting, still human enough to hope even after you taught yourself not to. And if you know someone like this, don't throw them a surprise party. Don't force the spotlight on them. That's your need, not theirs. Instead, do something small. Send a message at midnight that says nothing about obligation and everything about seeing them. Say, I know you don't make a big deal of today, but I'm glad you exist. That's it. Because the person who skips their birthday doesn't need a celebration. They need evidence, quiet, consistent, unpressured evidence that they are worth remembering without having to ask. And sometimes a single sentence at the right moment rewires more than 1,000 candles ever could. Some people don't skip their birthday because it's meaningless. They skip it because it means too much. And they never learned that meaning was safe. If this described someone you know or someone you are, sit with that for a moment. That's not a flaw in your wiring. That's a scar doing its job.